Welcome to the On Stage podcast, where we interview musicians and members of the entertainment community. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us. Today's guest, you would not believe it, we have Rick Lovett. Now, Rick was born in Detroit and he grew up listening to country, western, rock and roll, and the Motown sound. And these influences can be heard throughout his work. He began singing, playing guitar, and writing songs with his family at a young age, and began playing professionally in the Lovett Brothers Band with his brother Stephen Ray, introducing listeners to numerous original works. After moving his family to San Diego, he joined a bluegrass band called the High Grass Rollers and spent several years playing the San Diego beach bar scene and community festivals. Today, Rick Lovett continues to write and record independently, and in the past year, he has released 17 songs and 6 music videos, which have been well received both nationally and internationally, having racked up over 100,000 views. And he can be found on YouTube. I'll link everything down below with Spotify, Amazon Music, and all of the major streaming platforms. So he also has some more videos in post production. Thank you so much for being on our platform today, Rick. Please, it's really a great opportunity.
Thank you very much for having me on here, Chris. I'm delighted to be here with you today.
You're very welcome. What inspired you to pursue Korean music, and how did you get started in the industry?
I think what inspired me the most was my two brothers who were 1 and 2 years older than me. And Steve, who was 2 years older than me, he was always writing things like more poetry and stuff like that. But then when he got a little older, like 17 and 18, he started writing songs. But they didn't really have music to them. They were still kind of like poetry, but they were beginning to sound like songs. So I had always had a guitar laying around, but I never got serious with it. And he showed me a song one day, and I thought it was so good. I better learn how to play this guitar, or he's going to leave me behind. So I started playing a guitar, and how I did it was I got a book that had songs in it with chords. So I seen a song in there called "Make the World Go Away" by Eddie Arnold. So I copied the chords and I knew the song because I grew up listening to that kind of music. So I started singing that, and there was a mix of songs in there uh, that I learned how to chord to. So I just got that knack of doing that 3 chord thing and singing. That's how I learned how to play, singing and playing the guitar at the same time. So I joined up with him, and he would see me playing a groove, a practice groove, and he'd come out and start singing some words to it and make it a song. So these simple little grooves that I was playing he made them important because he made them songs. And then sometimes he would come out with a song that didn't have any music to it, and he'd be sort of talking it or even singing the melody. And I was able to put the music to it. So he inspired me. And then my other brother, Ray, came in and he wrote songs too and played the bass with us. And he could also play guitar and sing. And so those two guys inspired me the most. And before that, when we were younger, growing up in Detroit, we were those guys walking down the street, dancing and trying to sing the Temptation songs and stuff like that. So we always had that Detroit thing going. So eventually we formed our band, the Lovett Brothers. And the unique thing about it was that everybody in the band, including our drummer, who I grew up with, all learned how to play by playing songs. Nobody took no lessons or anything. And it was just a fun thing going down in the basement. So we weren't real technical, but we were creative. And with my brother Steve leading the way, we were a really super creative band. And that led into eventually playing bars and clubs and weddings. And my brother Steve didn't want to go in that route. He didn't want to do any cover songs. He just wanted to do originals. And so I didn't know enough about music and felt confident enough that I could continue on writing songs and making songs when I really wasn't educated enough at it. So I thought I need to learn how to play some more songs. So I got to keep at this, playing these cover songs until I learn how to play music. And eventually, I think I got it. But he was gone, and the Lovett Brothers eventually came to an end. And I had to get a job. I had some kids. I had to get a real job. And so I moved my family. I had three daughters, and I moved them out of Detroit, out to the country on a farm. And I went back to school and became a nurse. I raised up my kids. Then when they was all grown up, except for one, she had a couple of years to go, we moved out to California.
Hmm.
And I formed a band out here called the High Grass Rollers. And we lasted about 4 years, and we were playing really, really good music, really tight band. This band was technical. And we played the very popular beach bars around San Diego, and we were very well received. Everybody liked our band. And I worked really super hard at that band. I passed flyers, and well, I did all kinds of extra stuff, and eventually it came to an end too. So I became disgruntled with it, and disenchanted with music, and tried all kinds of things: painting, martial arts, did all kind of traveling. I did all kinds of things to fill that void, but eventually the music bug bit me again about 2.5 years ago, and I got back into this, and with my old friend Jeff Forrest at Double Time Studio in San Diego, he recorded an album with me for the High Grass Rollers back
Hmm.
in the early 2000s. And then with him, we've recorded all. I didn't record all 17 of those songs with him this year. Six of
Hmm.
those songs came from, or five of them came from when I was with the High Grass Rollers, which I did record with him many years ago. And he's so good at it. He's so talented. I go in there and play guitar with a song I wrote, and then I do a vocal on it, and then he runs out there and puts the drums on it, lickety split, and then comes back in and we work out the bass, and then he winds up playing the bass on it.
Hmm.
That's our formula, Jeff and I, and then we've got musicians that we're in favor of, and they play with us. We send our songs out to them, they send them back, and they're terrific musicians. All of them are very professional and very well heeled at what they do. So that's our formula, and we've had a lot of success. And we just finished the video that just came out on YouTube. The video is called "Here's Love," and well, I've been waiting a year to do this video because I released that song "Here's Love" many years last year, and that song was written by my brother Steve. He came out one day and says he starts singing this bartender length as he walked to
Hmm.
me. So I got a guitar. I start going boom, 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 boom,
Boom,
and
boom.
so yeah, and so that song, just so I never record. We never recorded it. The Lovett Brothers didn't do a whole lot of recording, and I didn't get a chance to record it with the High Grass Rollers. But I thought it was a great song, and so when I recorded it with Jeff, I was lucky enough with that song to get Alicia Previn to play the fiddle on it. Alicia's father was Andre Previn, and he was a famed pianist. Actually, he was a six-time Oscar winner. And the lady came in that night, Alicia Previn, into the studio with me and Jeff, and she had
Hmm.
rehearsed at home three of my songs, and she played three of them that she had never heard before, and she did it all in one night. It was just crazy being in a room with a person like that could do that well. And if you listen to the song, you will hear Alicia Previn's genius in it. It's a great song. It's a great video too. Check it out on YouTube.
Beautiful story. I really appreciate that, Rick. Always love to hear the origins, or as another artist said, the genesis of myself, and how they came to what they're doing back then as children and then what they're doing now. I want to ask you about, so you and your brother Stephen Ray grew up in Detroit. Were there a lot of gangs there?
Oh yeah, we lived down in Detroit. Is like any big city. There's some pockets of Detroit that were more poor than others. Mostly, when I was a kid, the greater Detroit area was very prosperous and everybody had jobs. But then down, they call it the Cass Corridor now, if
Mm,
there's anything left of it. But when I was a kid down in Detroit, there was a honky tonk area there. There was a street that ran there, and they're called Third Street.
mm,
And on every block for about a mile, there were two bars on every block, and
mm,
sometimes two bars across the street on the other block. And most of them were playing this old country music because the area was integrated with people from down south that had came up there to work from the auto companies. So it was a poor area. Everybody was a long way from home, and those songs that would come out of those bars then, like Bobby Bear's song, "I Want to Go Home, I Want to Go Home," the Buck Owens stuff. All of those songs related to all those people down there in that area. It was a great place to be. Everybody was poor, but it was a good time. And there was gangs. Yeah, there's always gangs, but I tried to stay out of that. I never got involved with that. But yeah, there were pockets of gangs in Detroit for forever. There always was. Way back before my time, there was the Purple Gang. Have you ever heard of the Purple Gang? They actually made a movie about them. They were in the 20s and 30s, and they ran liquor across from Windsor to
mm.
Detroit during Prohibition. And there was a big killing of like three of them in a hotel way back then. But when I was a kid, it was I don't think there was any big organized gangs. There was probably pockets of
Mm,
crews they called them, like your three or four buddies. Like I had my buddies that I hung around with down there. I was a shoe shine boy down there. So when
mhm.
you're shining shoes down there when you're a kid in the honky tonk areas, yeah, you got guys that you hang around with that are your friends. So you're not going to go down there. They got to be two or three of you all the time. It was a rough neighborhood, but I wouldn't say there was any organized gangs like you hear of now. Not back then. If there were, they weren't publicized or anything.
Wow. So what kind of trouble did you and your brothers get into that made you go, you know what? We have to smarten up and do something more, us.
Well, me and my brothers, mostly what we did is we went to work real young. Like there was a labor pool down the street on Third Street there, and you could go down there and get to go out to work, and you didn't have to be 18. You just had to tell them four numbers for your last social security number, and they would send you out to work. So my brothers and I, we worked our way out of there.
Mm.
That's how we got out of there.
When Rick, when you or your brothers, when you started playing guitar, I gotta ask you because I've asked many artists, and I don't think anyone has actually said this, but they said that the very first tune that you play on guitar is "Smoke on the Water." Was that your first tune that you played, or do you have a different one in mind?
Well, no, that wasn't the first one I said. I probably go back a little before that. The one that everybody would say that they learned how to play the guitar on was "House of the Rising Sun."
Oh
Dum,
yeah.
diddle, doo, doo, diddle, doo, doo, doo. That one, and my first song that I learned how to play, as far as like picking on a guitar, was "The Wildwood Flower." Mostly the country people, and that's who I was mostly around. Uh, they play songs like that, "The Wildwood Flower," and that's how actually that's how I learned how to tune a guitar because I didn't really know anything about A440 or anything. I never checking things out like that seemed like work, so I just wanted to play the guitar and have fun. So I tuned it up to Wildwood Flower. I didn't know what key it was in tune or whatever. So I just played it like that. And then I got me a pitch pipe and I learned how to actually tune the thing to A440. And things started sounding better then. But it was House of the Rising Sun, Pop Pipeline. But mostly I like to strum chords and sing songs, not actually pick them out like Pipeline or Wildwood Flower and that stuff. I'm not a picker like that. I did play electric guitar with the Lovett Brothers, But that was more like stretching notes, learning songs, and copying those leads from them. I wasn't a freestyler, but I could play the electric guitar and play some nice leads on it when in my glory days. I don't do it much anymore. I leave that to the guitar players that I have now, Jeff King in Nashville, Tennessee, and Buzz Campbell of San Diego, California. He's a great guitar player. Uh, Russell Hayden, he plays steel guitar and electric guitar. He's very good. He played both of those on my song, guitar song, that's doing very well. That song is. And so I let them play the guitar. They're way better than me. And I don't want to leave out Trevor C. Edwards, too. He also played on guitar song. And Trevor's from San Diego, but he moved up to Washington. So we haven't been able to utilize his awesome skills lately. And so we're loaded with guitar players, and I don't want to get in their way. I let them. I play the rhythm guitar on my songs, and I write them like that. And so I wind up playing the acoustic guitar on them. Right now, I'm working on a song where I think I'm going to wind up playing the bass on it too, because I've been working really hard on it, and I got a good bass line on it. So I think I'm going to play the bass on the next. You hear that, Jeff? I'm going to play the bass.
So, what make of the guitar would that be? Like a Martin, a Taylor?
Oh, I got all kinds of guitars.
Mhm.
Uh, the first guitar I bought, I don't have it anymore. I paid $5 for it. It was a plastic string acoustic guitar, and that's the thing that I actually learned how to play guitar on. And then for $75, I bought an acoustic guitar from Wonderland Music in Dearborn for $75, a Greco. And I don't have that guitar anymore either. I gave it to somebody, one of my kids, and I don't know what happened to it. And then one day I thought I really want to play this guitar stuff, so I went over to Hewitt's Music on Dearborn, on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn, and I was looking at their electric guitars, and they had a little maple-colored Fender Telecaster up there for $300, and then next to it was a Silverline, kind of a Japanese. I don't know if Silverline's Japanese or not, but it was a Japanese guitar, but it was real pretty. It had all three or four different colors, and
Mm.
it had a shifting gear on it and everything, and it was only $180. And the guy was trying to talk me into taking that guitar. And so I didn't have no money. I was borrowing the money from a company. I don't need to say their name, but it was 22% interest. But I wanted that guitar, so I bought that Fender Telecaster, and I still got it. It's hanging in there on the wall, and that was in the summer of 1973. So I don't know what it's worth. I've been told it's worth a lot of money, and so I guess it may be the best investment ever. But then I got my brother. He was left-handed. He bought a right-handed Les Paul, and he was going to flip it up
Wow.
and play that like Jimi Hendrix did his Stratocaster. And then, well, that didn't work out for him, so he wound up buying a left-handed Les Paul, and he sold me his. So I still have that, a Les Paul Deluxe. And then my foster father, Tom, I was with him when he went in 1974. He bought a Gibson ES 335, and I was with him when he bought it. And then he died a couple of years later, and my sister put that guitar up under the bed for 15 years and then brought it out to me and gave it to me. So I
Hmm.
have a couple of really nice Gibsons, and I have that Fender. And what I play mostly every day is a Guild, or not a Guild, a Taylor acoustic guitar. I bought that when I was with the High Grass Rollers, and it's got its wear. All of my guitars got wear spots on them where I've played them a lot, but this Taylor guitar, I think by now, after having it for 20 years, I've probably played it more than any other guitar. And I have to say, more of an acoustic guitar player now than I am electric. But I'm working on that bass too, and I'm picking. I don't really pick a lot on the acoustic. I slam chords with it, and I write songs. That's what I've sort of relegated myself to being, writing songs with an acoustic guitar.
Do you know how to guitar slap?
Pardon me?
Do you know how to slap?
No, not really. Slapping that like that? Nah, not really. Not as a technique, just using it as a phrase. No, it's mostly just three chords and three chords, but I'm working on a song right now that actually has four chords in it. And,
Mm.
Hank Williams said if you knew more than three chords, you educated yourself out of a job. And someone asked Johnny Cash, they said, they say you only know three chords. And Johnny Cash says, yeah, that's true, but I play every one of them from the bottom of my heart. And
Awesome. I love it. That's great.
so, really, like I wrote a song not long ago called, let me get it right. Dreaming About You. And that song has actually four chords in it, too. If you throw a minor in there on your three majors, you can integrate a fourth chord in there. And so I really like the old song by Don Gibson called Sea of a Heartbreak. And the way I interpreted that song is he started off in D and went to B minor to an A to a G, made it a four chord song. So, and then and I like that song, so that's the key that I played it in. And I was also playing a Bob Dylan song, Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. So I played that in D, B minor. So I noticed how the grooves were very much alike on those songs. So I was in the studio with Jeff, and I said, "Look at this, Jeff. Sea of Heartbreak, and Don't Think Twice. It's All Right by Bob Dylan." It was the old familiar C, A minor, F, G thing. When I converted it to C from D, I realized that well, I've been playing that really all my life. That same kind of groove there. And I told Jeff, I laughed. I said, "I'm going to write a song in that groove."
Mhm.
And, because it's not stealing anything. That groove's been used dozens of times. It's probably being used right now today. I'm going to use it again. It's a good one. And so I got done with it, and then I wrote a whole song to it, and it worked out pretty good. That song is also on YouTube. That's called "Dreaming About You," and it has the great Jimmy Mattingly on fiddle. Jimmy Mattingly's the guy that's played in the last six songs. Jimmy Mattingly. He is the fiddle player for Garth Brooks, and he's been the fiddle player for Garth Brooks for 30 years. And right now, they're getting ready to play uh, a concert. They're playing a series of concerts that's
Mhm.
sponsored by Amazon TV.
Mm.
Garth Brooks in concert, and Jimmy's been playing with him for 30 years. And somehow or another, I got hooked up with Jimmy.
Mm.
And not that I don't love Alicia Previn, because I do, but she moved out of state, and we didn't have no way of. She didn't have the facilities to be able to record the way we needed to do it, which was pass it along to her and her pass it back. So we wound up with Jimmy, and Jimmy was fiddle player of the year when
Mm.
he was 18 years old in Kentucky. And he's played with everybody, Dolly Parton. He's all over the internet. Jimmy Mattingly, you can Google him and sing with Dolly Parton. So he's my fiddle player now, and I've gotten to know him with just, I've never met him. I'm going to, though. I'm going to make it a point. He's a real super nice person. And man, does he smoke on that fiddle. And I'm so happy to have him. And Jeff King, he's from Nashville. He plays
Oh,
with Dolly Parton and everybody. I got him
wow.
on guitar now. Um, Paul Hollowell, he plays with everybody down there. I have him on piano now. And last but not least is Bruce Boughton. He also plays with everyone. I got him on steel guitar. He just did a. This is the first time for Bruce working with me. He just did a steel guitar on a song I just did called "Baby Again It's You," and it just I listened to it 25 times in a row the other day. That listening to he was the last one to take a track on that song, and he's just crazy good. I can't believe how good he is, and I swear I listened to it 25 times. Many years ago, when Elvis recorded, I think Heartbreak Hotel, I read that he took it home and he had there were 30 different versions of it,
Mm.
vocals that he did, and he listened to them all night long till he finally picked out the one that he wanted. And well, that's I didn't have to pick the vocal out. The vocal was fine. I just couldn't quit listening to the song. This guy was so good on that steel guitar. They all were. They're just crazy good.
Mm.
And I can't wait to get that song out there. It's called "Baby Again It's You."
Mm.
My brothers. and I wrote that song together. What we did was we took two songs, or we were both writing on our individual, working on our own songs. So we hooked them together. And his song was the one entitled Baby Again It's You. And he was telling me, he was my mentor and he was a great songwriter. To me, he's the greatest. Many years ago, he said, when you're writing a song and you get baffled on what's going to be your theme or something, he said, always try to write songs that will work in a bar. And he says, and then think of old songs that were famous and maybe answer them or continue on what they said. So he
Mm-hmm.
brought up this song by the Shirelles many years ago called Baby It's You. Remember that song? Baby, it's you, sha la 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 la. Great song, classic song. So he said, so I wrote this song called Baby Again It's You. And that's a technique of writing. It's not stealing anything from anyone. The song doesn't go anything like their song went. It's just using that as, hey, baby, okay, baby, again, it's you. And then you write a song to it. And so he hooked that song onto the song that I was working on, and we came out with one song. And me and him wrote that song probably in the mid '90s, sometime. And 20, we'd been writing songs for many years when we got to that one, and it turned out real good. We're just waiting to put the finished touches on it, and then I'm going to release that song. And I got another song right behind it coming up, and we sent it out and it got it back, and we're not quite there yet with that song. That one's called Another Drink, Another Song. It's real country fried. Woo-hoo! It sure is. And so we're not done with that song, but it's going to be close up. But I got another song I'm working on. As a matter of fact, before we went on the air here, I've been working on it and working like a demon on this song because after so many songs that I feel we've had great success.
Mm.
We're not scaring Taylor Swift or anything, but from a person who had actually no listens a year and a half ago, now I have 128,000, and it keeps growing week by week. It's growing more and more. Like
Mm-hmm.
the last month, the first 12 months, it was 90,000, and in the last 2 months, it's been 38,000. So, and in the last month, it's been 24,000. So every month it keeps going up. So I'm really happy about it. And I want to make sure that now that I'm getting picky and picky, more picky, I want to make sure that when this song comes out, that it sounds real good. And because I got enough songs out there that I don't have to release it because there ain't no hurry. I want to make sure it's good. But it sounded good the last time I listened to it 25 times in a row. As a matter of fact, later on tonight, I'm going to get me a beer, a couple of them. I'm going to listen to Baby. I'm going to listen to that Baby Again It's You by Rick Lovett again.
That's funny. That's
And I
amazing.
throw in some great props. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I love that. I love that. Sounds like a good
Yeah,
plan.
I'm going to drink some beer, listen to some Rick Lovett, and I'm going to throw in some Ray Price and some Porter Wagner. No, the old country favorites. That's mostly who I listen to. But I also listen to if folks out there haven't heard a song "When She Was My Girl" performed by the Four Tops in 1981
Hmm.
live. You got to listen to it. It's probably their best song they ever did, and I'm a big Four Tops fan, and I
Mm.
love Levi Stubbs. He was a big influence. I love to hear Levi Stubbs sing, the singer in the Four Tops, and those great singers that were around back then they had, I'm not a great singer. I'm just a guy that gets up there and sings it, but I'm not great at it. I'm not trying to be great at it. I just have some pretty good songs with some great musicians around me. And I was fortunate enough to have my brother write a lot of great songs. And as a matter of fact, out of all the songs that I've got out there, my wife counts how well they're doing every day. Each
Mm.
country they come from and which song's doing what. And the original one, I Ain't Got the Money, is the it's gotten the most listens, but it's been out the
Yeah.
longest. But over the last couple of months,
Mm-hmm.
it's been the songs that my brother wrote along with the guitar song. So I'm very happy that they say the cream rises to the top. I'm glad that my brother's songs, he's deceased now, I'm glad that his songs are
Mm.
starting to really catch on because they're really, really good.
That must have been hard for you when that happened.
Yeah, yeah, that's real hard when I thank God I got a chance to spend a lot of time with him in the last couple of years that he was alive. And
Mm.
yeah, yeah, I'm number 10 of 10 kids, and there's only four of us left. So that's what goes with the territory. There's only one alternative, they say. So yeah, I miss him. And right before he died, we had a very serious conversation. And I asked him, I said, well, we know what's what here. We know what's coming. And I'm going to miss you. And he said, well, I'll always be with you. And I said, will you send me a sign some way if it's possible? He said, yes, I will. And so that was in 2020. And he died 10 days before Christmas. So it was wintertime in Detroit. And I was driving over to his house and I couldn't get the words out of this song out of my head. The green top of the trees against the scarlet sky, reflecting to me in your beautiful eyes.
Mm.
Against the scarlet sky, against the scarlet sky. I couldn't get that out of my head. So I
Hmm.
go over to his house. He's already passed away. There was a Cadillac in the back that I had procured for him many years before that in California. So I went to say goodbye to the Cadillac before I headed home. And the sky turned red. And I just couldn't believe it. And I don't think that he had no power or anything to turn the sky red. But I think maybe him and God had some way of making
Mm.
sure that I was out there when that sky was red. And then there was another thing. I won't get into that one. But just recently, when I did this video before time reaches me, that to me that was his greatest song, and that's the song that's leading the way now. And in that video that I did with Jeff Forrest, I'm doing it's just me singing the song and walking along the alleyway there by the studio, and Jeff does some stuff that he gets off the internet, some stock footage. And so one of the footages is a guy sitting on the ledge, and you can't see his face. It's his back is to you, and he's got a hat on, and he's lighting up a cigarette exactly the way my brother did. So I believe in that metaphysical stuff like that, and I'm just saying that's another sign from him that I'm on the right track or something. He's sending me these messages, and yeah, I'm not crazy or psychotic or anything. I'm just looking at that, and I know it's probably bullshit, but it's a good story. Nah, he's in it. He's sitting on a ledge lighting up a smoke.
Wow. Yeah. But every day you have to go and live your life. I know that when my parents passed away, especially my dad, I was very close to him. Like this May 29th, he will be gone 22 years. So he died a few months after the World Trade Center disaster. So it was a terrible thing. He also was a smoker. I don't want to get into it, but you know where that's leading. So I miss him. But every day I wish you'd pick up the phone and just call him and say I had this happen. I need some advice, whatever. But I still remember his voice, and I still remember a lot of advice he gave me. It pops up in my mind. Said, you know what? I need this today, but I didn't need the advice he gave me that time. I needed it that moment, though. But yeah, so that's how it happens. And my condolences to you. You were mentioning your song, I Ain't Got the Money. Now, I want to know, that's a breakout video, right? It featured the musical talents of such artists as Buzz Campbell, Russell Hayden, and it was directed by your friend Jeff Forrest. Can you give me a little bit of like what's your creative process when you're writing and recording music? I know you mentioned a few times that you and your brother worked on a few, but how did you end up writing and creating this song, I Ain't Got the Money?
Well, I ain't got the money. Was what again? I used my brother's technique that he taught me. Coming toward the end of the high grass rollers, I we were working in bars and stuff, and one of the songs that we were doing out there, cover song, was a song called Misery Loves Company, and it was
Mm,
performed by Porter Wagner. It was written by Jerry Reed.
mm,
And that song starts off like, so break out the bottle, bring on the crowd. Okay, so I just love that song. We always got great response for it. Didn't matter what kind of bar we were playing at. When we played that song, people liked it. And so I was just writing songs, messing around with the guitar and stuff, and I was actually singing that song. And then I thought, well, that's a nice start. I might write this song and start off like that. And then I thought about, well, what are you going to write? And so then I was thinking of Hank Williams' old song. I don't know if you're familiar with this, Chris, but many years ago, Hank Williams wrote a song that went like this: If you got the money, I got the time. We'll go honky tonk
mm,
and we'll have a time. If you got the money, I got the time. So I sort of just answered to Hank. I said, I ain't got the money. And I didn't think of it this time. I wasn't consciously doing this. It was many years later that I discovered that and put those things together that that song actually, the genesis of it was from the um, so break out the bottle, I ain't got the money. So the beginning of the song was related to Jerry Reed's song,
mhm,
but the lyrics of it was an answer to Hank.
mhm,
And so I didn't really put much. I liked the song and I wanted to record it with the High Grass Rollers, but we never got to it. So it just went on the shelf. And that's the song that brought me back, though. And I really, because it took me, I wrote the first part of the song and I just left it. Then for many years, 2.5 years ago, I got that song out and I told Pam, I said, I'm going to finish this song. And I wrote the second half of it, the second verse.
mm,
If you're writing a song and you write the first verse and you got all the choruses and you got everything in there and you don't have a second verse, don't panic. You can
mhm,
write the second verse later. You can rewrite the first verse. Songs don't have to stay exactly what you write them when you put them out there. So that song came out here and I started just banging it on the acoustic. I ain't got the money, I ain't got the time. And I thought, man, this song really rocketed it. So I thought, well, I want to record this song. I want to give music one more burst, and this is going to be the one that starts it for me.
mm,
And I thought about contacting studios in LA
mm,
and I live in the Coachella Valley. There's and around Palm Springs. There's studios around here too. But then I thought of my old friend Jeff and how comfortable that I was working with him before and how talented he is. And so I called him up and told him I had this song. I went down there and we recorded it. And when I walked out, he says, "That's one of the best songs I've ever recorded in here." And
mm,
that really pumped me up. I thought that was really nice of him to say that to me.
mm.
And I didn't know he's recorded thousands. I mean, maybe 1,000 bands in there. His wall's full of their stickers. He's been there 35 years.
Wow.
So that was quite a compliment coming from him. And we did that song and we sent it. Buzz Campbell worked on that song, and so did Russell. Russell Hayden in Nashville, Tennessee, played the steel guitar on that. He also played a Hammond organ on that song. And when
Wow.
he did his first two tracks and he sent it back to us, I was listening to it and I thought that we don't need any more. That song is so awesome. It had that Hammond organ on it. It sort of went like Bruce Springsteen's organ. Dee, dee, dee. It was just awesome. It's still in there. It's still in there, but there's layers more of like Buzz did his part after that, and yeah, Buzz Campbell. He is he's a great guitar player. Uh, the guy who's Lee Rocker is his bass player. Lee Rocker played with the Stray Cats, and Buzz has played
Wow.
with them, been on tour with them. The Stray
Wow.
Cats, yeah, and
Amazing.
so he has a band called Buzz Campbell and the Heartaches. And Buzz Campbell is a phenomenal guitar player. It's just crazy. Somebody says, "Who's your favorite guitar player? Who's best?" Or I don't know. It depends on what genre it is. But who's the best guitar player I've ever seen? I don't know that either. I know that Buzz Campbell's a pretty good guitar player. I know Jimmy Page. There's Jimmy Page. There's Jimi Hendrix. There's all the great guitar players.
Yeah.
Actually, we just lost one the other day. Richard Betts, who played with the Allman Brothers, just passed away,
Yeah.
and he was probably my favorite rock guitar player because he was in the country, more the rock
Mm.
country thing. But yeah, so I don't know. Buzz Campbell played pretty good, and not pretty good, really super good in all my songs that he plays then, and so did Russell. And now, and I'm sending a song out to Buzz when I get the song that we're just finishing up. That I know I'm not finishing it up. The one I'm just working on today, that's going out to Buzz. And he's a terrific guitar player. You can get him. He's all over YouTube. He's all over the internet. He's a real nice, super nice person. You get if you're in the neighborhood, he goes across the country. He does a Buddy Holly tour in
Wow.
Milwaukee. Get out and see Buzz Campbell and the Heartaches. And so, in that song, I Ain't Got the Money, he performed. It was just crazy, crazy good how he did that and how they bring your song to life like that. And then on the video, Jeff Forrest is the man behind those videos. And as much as I've worked with him, and no matter what he does, I don't see him writing things down. He does. I have to write everything I go in there and do with him. I write down. Okay, we worked on this song, not Jeff.
Mm.
But then he don't write nothing down. He says, you know what? He says, I ain't got the money. He says, we're gonna do it. We're gonna get this guy come over a motorcycle, and we're gonna go down to Imperial Beach, and we're gonna go over here by the highway by the airport. And I go, you got all this stuff wrote down, Jeff? And he goes, Nah, I got it all up here in my head. So we go out with him, and the first thing we do is we shoot a scene over on there's a road that runs by the airport that there's virtually no traffic there. So we shot our scene over there with Mel Shear, uh,
Mm.
and his name's Mel. Mel's also a musician and got some songs out too. And with my daughter in the car, and they pull up to the guy who's getting shafted because he ain't got the money, and they sort of just laugh at him. It's in the video. So we shoot that one. Then we go down to IP, and the guy. Um, uh, right now, I can't think of his name. It's Brian. It's Brian. I'll think of it. And anyways, Brian's out there. He's the actor. He's playing the guy that's getting shafted. And so he's an IP, and he's got a guitar case out there and a guitar, and he's got a note there that says, "Get the divorce. I need some cash." My daughter Danielle, she goes up and taps him on the back and takes the money and takes the keys to his motorcycle.
Nice.
And it's an awesome video. If you haven't seen it, actually, I'm going to be doing another show, and I forget the name of the show that I'm going to be doing next week, but they researched all of the videos that I've done, and they want to do that one. They're going to showcase that video. And it's a very good video. The music's good. I had a great time making it. Uh, I'm glad that I got my daughter in it. And it's a good video. Check it out. Check out Rick Lovett on YouTube. I'm
Yep.
getting views all over the world, all over. I'm up in Canada. I'm getting like these numbers aren't going to thrill people, but I'm getting 60 or 70 listens on my songs up in Canada. And for me, that's amazing. And I'm getting about totally 800 every day. So, and I'm getting them in the Netherlands. I'm getting them in France, Germany, Norway, everywhere. Philippine Islands. I've gotten them over there. Even China and
Terrific.
India. And so I don't get a lot of that from there. Finland, I've been getting quite a few from Finland. So it's a grassroots thing. It's building up slowly, but I'm surprised that it's picking up for me. I'm just amazed, and I thank God that I'm able to do this at my age still.
That's
And
terrific.
I'd like to, I'd like to thank everybody out there that might be watching this show. That if you listen to my music, that's great. And all my friends, Jeff Forrest, and all the people that played on my songs, my wife Pam, I owe it all to them. I'm just a acoustic guy that sings and writes songs. And they're the ones that make these songs great.
As long
I
as
think,
we will link all your music down below. and make sure that my audience, they get an earful, and just it's great, great music. Love how you wrote the music, love who you collaborated with. Rick, can you give us a little bit of like who are your biggest musical influences and how have they impacted your style and sound?
Well, I think the old country singers like Johnny Horton and uh, Ray Price and Hank
Willie Nelson.
Williams, those guys, the ones I grew up listening to. I think my style of singing is up in their alley, and so because I think that's where I'm at, that's my range and stuff. And so when I write songs, I like to. For a long time, I covered Johnny Horton's song "North to Alaska," and
Mm,
one guy that was playing bass with me, he said, "I thought you wrote that song." I said, "I wish I had wrote that song," and so I do those types of cover songs very well. So I think that the old time country singers influenced me a lot, and then the soul singers of the '60s, growing up in Detroit, there, Jackie Wilson,
mm.
um, Levi Stubbs with the Four Tops,
Oh.
David Ruffian with the Temptations,
Mm.
Marvin Gaye. Oh,
Marvin.
here's one that and folks, if you've never heard this guy sing "Stand by Me," you got to check this out. Spider Turner, check his version of "Stand by Me" out. And nothing against Benny King, he was great. Benny King is great, one of the greatest vocalists of all time.
Hmm.
But the Spider Turner version of that "Stand by Me" song is just so crazy good. So all of those types of musics, I just loved them all. I loved hearing them people sing and the music, the guitar sounds that they made, like that beginning of "My Girl."
Hmm.
I just love that stuff, and I always have, and I still love music, and I listen to it all the time. Not just Rick Lovett, although I do listen to myself a lot because trying to learn, trying to figure out where I went wrong, maybe maybe include some better nuances or something on my vocals. I don't know, but so I do listen to myself a lot to try to educate myself and try to maybe do better or see where I went wrong. But
It
I
all
do have a
started with
play.
I Ain't Got the Money. I love that one.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. That's my favorite song, and I that's a really good song. I'm a humble person, and I'm not a braggart, and I've been doing this for a long time. And sometimes you hit that song that it's not just good; it's that if a lot of people hear it, there's going to be a large percent of them say, "Yeah, that's a good song."
Yeah.
And I think "I Ain't Got the Money's a good song.
What do you think of country singers like? Well, I'm going to say one. You'll think she's not a country singer. Well, she started out as one. What do you think of Willie Nelson? And also, when I ask you about what you think of Taylor Swift, because she started out as a country singer, and Leanne Rhymes as well.
Yeah, well, with Willie there, of course, I've been listening to him all my life too. I remember him on Glenn Campbell's show when he had the
Yeah.
dark hair and singing. I think he did his version of "Crazy." He's the great songwriter. Oh man, can Willie Nelson write them songs? That song "Crazy" is
The
just
road
amazing. And
again.
I'm a big fan of Willie Nelson. I did a couple of his songs. I used to do "On the Road Again,"
Hmm.
and and my brother used to do "Ain't It Funny How Time Slips Away." So we covered a couple of Willie songs, and everybody loves Willie Nelson. So uh, yeah, I'm a big Willie Nelson fan. Taylor Swift, she's making a big show, making lots of money. She's a big star, so obviously she's got talent and she's got a big fan base. I don't listen to her kind of music because I'm limited for my time. So she's not on my playlist. Not because I don't think she's good, because she's good. She does. Taylor Swift is the latest big star that we have. Before it was like Britney Spears, and then before that it was Madonna, and before that it was Elvis, and they build up these stars, and they have talent. Just like you got to have talent, and you got to work at it. Of course, she works at it and puts up with a lot, I'm sure. And then you got to have some luck too. And like she's got all the tools. She's pretty. She's got a good voice. She knows how to write songs. She's got a great team. She's got a lot of people on her team that's helping her.
Hmm.
And my hat's off to her. Go ahead, go girl. And I, but I'm just not that. That just isn't my kind of music. And I'm sure my music isn't Taylor Swift's kind of music either. And that's fine.
Do you think Taylor Swift would have had a lot more success if she stayed in the country genre? Or do you think that making that move to rock and pop made her more successful? Why don't other country musicians make the same move? Because they know, hey, if Taylor Swift can be a country singer and go into pop and become more famous, maybe we should do that too. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I was riding along one night listening to talk radio, and the Bellamy brothers were on the
Oh
show.
yeah.
And a caller called in and asked them why they left rock and roll and went into country. And one of the brothers, I don't know what, and they were one of my favorite songs on my playlist. He said, well, we didn't leave rock and roll. Rock and roll sort of left us because when their song, Let the Love Flow, was a hit,
Hmm.
country rock was the thing in the 70s. Urban cowboys, man. And
Hmm.
so then all of a sudden that everything sort of turned to disco, even though their song sort of lapped over into that. So they were just doing the same thing they always did, but they just weren't considered rock and roll anymore. I don't listen to new country that much. I do listen to some of it, and I don't listen to new pop music much at all. But it sounds to me like they overlap a lot, unless they intentionally want to sound like I'm singing a bar song. I've lost my girlfriend and I'm having a beer. I write those songs, and you can definitely they got the twang. You can definitely tell them they're country. But I think if you take the steel guitar out of a lot of these country songs, you wind up getting maybe pop music. And I don't mean that as criticism.
Hmm.
That's just the way it is. And I think they overlap. And I don't know if she could have been any bigger than she is if she would have stayed in country, or they would have. Who knows what it is? I don't listen to her music all the time, so I can't distinguish it from country. But it's been my experience that I think these musics overlap a lot. I think she's as big as anyone can be, and maybe going to get bigger. So yeah, I don't think she could have been any bigger than in any genre that she would have chose to do. And she still, I haven't seen her, but does she still get up there and play the acoustic guitar? I'm not. I've seen some films
She's
of her
really
where she had.
multi-talented, actually.
Yeah, she is, and she writes songs. She's obviously a talented person, and probably in our world, nobody's worth billions and billions and billions of dollars. I'm not a socialist, but it just seems kind of strange that people are worth billions and billions and billions of dollars uh, doing songs and being performers.
Hmm.
And it just and I don't know. It just seems celebrity. They seem to make a lot more money than they did when I was a kid. Like Gordie Howe, the great hockey player from Detroit. From what I understand, in his early career there, he made most of his money selling Amway. His wife did,
Hmm.
and had to work a job in between in off season. Same thing with the ball players; they
Wow.
had to work in the off season. I'm not saying that they shouldn't make the money they're making. I'm just saying it's just kind of interesting.
Hmm.
I'm not going to criticize it. I'm just going to say it's interesting that someone can play music like that and make billions, not millions,
Yeah.
billions of dollars. I hope I do it.
Rick.
I make a billion, and I promise all my friends out there, if I make $1 billion and I move to the south of France, I ain't never going to forget any of you. I promise.
Yes. Wow. And all that music you write with uh, your multi-talented friends, how do you deal with your mental health?
Oh, my mental health is good. I don't have no problem with that at all. Beer, whiskey, that helps. That helps my mental health, and I know I drink responsibly, so it improves my mood. And
Mm.
a little beer every once in a while keeps the viruses away. And I don't have any problem at all with mental health. Actually, music is good for the soul and good for your mental health. If you've
Mm.
got some songs to sing, like Woody Guthrie said, it doesn't matter whether you know the words or not. Just sing them songs. Get up there and sing. It doesn't matter whether you can go to karaoke. You don't have to be no great singer to get up there and sing karaoke. I do it all the time, and I'm not a great singer. And get with the music. That's good for your mental health. No, I don't have any mental health issues. Not any the same run of the mill stuff everyone might have. Sometimes I get frustrated with stuff,
Mm.
but not much. I've learned to move on. I have good coping skills.
Good. That's good.
How about you? How about you? How do you deal with it?
Well, thanks for the question. I either, well, I have a cat, so I kind of like, spend time with the cat. Sort of good therapy pet. I have another job, so that all actually takes a lot of my time, and I take walks, and I also sing, and I'll sing like a cover song and do my best to get it well and then go back. But I mean, sometimes I'm like I'm going crazy. I can't. So I'll get my shoes on, whatever, and I'll just go for a walk, or I'll get to the point where I'm so frustrated, and a friend will call, say, "Hey, you want to get together for coffee?" And I say, "Yeah, yeah. When can you be here?" But apart
Yeah,
from that, my therapy cat, I'm like, "Hey, how's it going, Hannah? Oh, good girl. You want to, and then I'm back to doing my own thing. But I love podcasts. I love researching. I love interviewing people. Like even you help me with my mental health because I get to talk to somebody. I'm not alone, as you say. It's you and me
yeah,
talking in real time.
I understand.
So I like
My
that.
brother wrote a song a long time ago called "A Place to Go."
Oh,
If you
okay.
got a place to go, whether it's your podcast or writing a song, or even go cut your grass, you got
Hmm.
something to go do and take your mind off things. It seems like you're doing good here with your podcast. So you found something to channel your energies into, and a place to go. You
Yes,
know,
exactly, Rick. And hopefully, like the end is not the end of the podcast, but my end thing I like to do is do more in person interviews, have a studio, have better equipment. But in the meantime, I have my studio right here. But how do you stay motivated and inspired to continue creating and performing music, even during challenging times or creative blocks?
I think what happens is no matter what you're doing, whether you're painting or writing songs, once you get into this recording stuff and you get immersed into it, uh, it almost takes you over, and the songs are kind of go along with you all the time,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden there's a new song coming in your head, and so I haven't really had any blocks since I've started back again. I had that. It didn't happen accidentally. When I took walked away from music, I did that on purpose just to get it out of my life. I was disgusted with it,
Oh.
and I chose to do that. Though it
Mhm.
didn't. I had just written. I ain't got the money. Everything was going good, but once the band fell out, I didn't have the band anymore, uh, and I was already like 54 years old,
Mm.
and I thought, that's my last crack at it. And I was living in apartments in San Diego before we bought our home. I was
Mm.
living in apartments there, so it wasn't a good place to practice, and it wasn't conducive to actually doing anything like recording. You just can't be playing music like that in apartments and stuff. So that inhibited me for quite a while, and but nah, not anymore. Again, I'd like to before we go here. Uh, I'd like to say thanks to you for having me on the show, and wish you all the luck in the world on this show. And you seem like a really super nice person, Chris.
I
I'll
really
come on and show.
appreciate that, Rick. Can you,
I'll come
before
on.
we leave, can you share any advice for aspiring musicians who are just starting out in the industry?
Yeah, don't do like me. I didn't take no lessons or nothing, and I still haven't. Everything I know, I've learned from someone else, or now I look on YouTube if I want to learn a particular thing. But take lessons. Like I think the Lovett Brothers Band would have been a lot more successful if we would have been more serious at it and went out and took lessons like how to sing, how to sing those harmonies right, and how to play that guitar right. I think taking lessons, I know you just want to have some fun like me. You just want to rock on. You want to rock the house, right? But learning how to do it and learning out those technical things will help you get started and find some friends that are into the same thing, like that old song. If you meet up with the right bunch of fellows and don't think that you know everything. And everyone you play with, if they're more advanced than you, they're not better than you, they're more advanced. Try to learn from them and don't think that you know everything and you don't need to be paying attention to these other people. That's how I learned, playing with people who were better than me and could sing better than me, and then listening to songs and learning how to play them. And and don't ever. Someone told me once, don't ever give up.
Hmm.
Well, I did give up once, but here I am again. So you can give up and then come back. It's not the end of the world if you take a break from it. But just keep on, just keep practicing all the time. If you're worried about going out and playing, practice your ass off till you know that song, and then you won't have anything to worry about. And if you have thin skin, this is a rough business because you're going to get, once you go out there, you can be criticized. People may not like, I've been criticized. It hurt me deeply. It hurt me deeply. I'm a sensitive person. But
Hmm.
just keep playing, practicing, meet up with the right people, and keep practicing, playing. And if you're writing songs, I'll tell you like my brother told me, write songs though like in bars. And if you get stumped, listen to a great old song and maybe it's been done. This is nothing new. It's just a form of writing. Pick a song out that may say, I want to walk you home, say, I want to walk you home forever. Something like that. Give
Hmm.
yourself an idea. And try to stay, if you're a country writer, even if you're a rock writer, don't try to get too fancy with it. You'll educate yourself out of jobs. Stay in those three chords. There's nothing with three chords. There's thousands of things you can do with it. If you're playing in G, there's lots of things you can do. At G, D, C chords, lots of things you can do. Well, you can play almost every song you will ever play in your life. You can play in the key of G. So it doesn't matter that whole thing about it's another G C D song. Forget about that. All my songs are G C D songs or A E D or C F G. Come on, the circle of five they call it. Stay that 1 4 5 course, and you'll do all right in songwriting.
That's awesome. Wow. Well, everyone, all of Rick's music will be linked down below. Give it a listen, especially the one I Ain't Got No Money or Ain't Got the Money and all his other music. And, bring his music to a whole new, different generation, those who haven't heard, different place in the world where his music is traveling. Thank you, Rick, for this opportunity to interview. And thank you, Pamela, for setting this up. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. Have a good day, Chris.
You're welcome.
I ain't got the money, I ain't got the time to keep you in that lifestyle you left behind. You got me down to my last dime. Ain't got the money, ain't got the time. I bought you a house way up on the hill. I gave you my truck, so my motorcycle too, but it wasn't enough to keep you satisfied. Now I'm on my way, here's the reason why. I ain't got the money, I ain't got the time to keep you in that lifestyle you left behind. You got me down to my last dime. Ain't got the money, ain't got the time. had me a job on the railroad line. Oh, it was good, doing just fine. But you found out about my last time. Now you're pulling out, leaving me behind. I ain't got the money, I ain't got the time to keep you in that lifestyle you left behind. You got me down to my last dime. Ain't got the money, ain't got the time. I ain't got the money, I ain't got the time to keep you in that lifestyle you left behind. You got me down to my last dime. I ain't got the money, I ain't got the time. I ain't got the money, I ain't got the time to keep you in that lifestyle you left behind. You got me down to my last dime. I ain't got the money, I ain't got the time. I ain't got the money, I ain't got the time. I ain't got the money, I ain't got the time.